Slaughter in Syria and a would-be shooter at the White House. It's 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV. 5 things you need to know in about 10 minutes for Monday, March 10th, 2025. I'm Derek Gilbert. First, a quick note. Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of England, Bank of Canada, elected the new leader of the Liberal Party in Canada. He becomes the new prime minister, replacing Justin Trudeau. At least for now, opposition parties say they're going to file a vote of no confidence against the minority Liberal Party's government, meaning federal elections coming sooner than the scheduled date in October. So we'll see how this all shakes out. Item number 5 today, the White House. U.S. Secret Service shot a man early Sunday morning in an armed confrontation outside the White House. The agency said they'd been warned by local police of a suicidal individual who may be traveling or might have been traveling to D.C. from Indiana. They found the vehicle parked next to the Eisenhower Executive Building, which is next to the White House. Found a suspect who matched the description. The man injured in the confrontation with the Secret Service. Nobody from the Secret Service hurt in the exchange, and President Trump and his family not at the White House Sunday morning. Item number 4 today, Syria. The Western-backed jihadists, the so-called moderate rebels who pushed Bashar al-Assad out of Damascus back in December, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, armed militants linked to HTS now responsible for as many as 1,000 deaths of Alawite Christian men, women, and children in Syria over the last few days. Although some local reports put the death count at more than 3,000. Alawites are a sect of Shia Islam. Former Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad was an Alawite. Mainstream media has now finally begun to cover the violence against non-Sunni Muslims in Syria because it's at the point where it's just too much to ignore anymore. The jihadists, who include foreign fighters as well as members of HTS, are simply going into the homes, in some cases, of non-Sunnis, pulling them out and just massacring entire families. And they've not been shy about uploading video of what they're doing to social media. Damascus itself has remained relatively quiet, but in areas where there's no media cameras, particularly countryside areas outside of Damascus, in rural Syria, the jihadists are going on a rampage, and it looks like this is going to get worse. The government in Damascus says it's going to investigate, but since the government, or at least forces aligned with the government, are the ones responsible for the violence, we don't expect anything to come of this. And this is why, by the way, the Druze, who are neither Christian nor Muslim nor Jew, the Druze in southern Syria and along the Golan Heights have been asking for Israeli protection. And over the weekend, there were even some Alawite social media accounts, formerly very critical of Israel, that are now saying, openly pleading with Benjamin Netanyahu to send the Israeli military into Syria to protect them from the Sunnis. Topic number 3, President number 46. Now, we know Trump is 45 and 47, so who was number 46? I mean, you'd be forgiven for saying Joe Biden because that is the official answer, but questions are now being asked, not because of the 2020 election, the way that was conducted. We'll just set that aside as, okay, that is a fact of history now at this point. Official history, that is. Specifically, the question relates to his letter withdrawing from the 2024 election, which is the one document that we know for sure that he signed with his own hand. Joe Biden, of course. You might remember a few months ago when House Speaker Mike Johnson revealed a discussion with President Biden when Biden couldn't remember signing his executive order putting a halt on liquefied natural gas exports, which affected Mike Johnson's home state of Louisiana. It was assumed by many that it was because President Biden was suffering from cognitive decline. He just couldn't remember what he'd done. But maybe it's because he really didn't sign that executive order. The Oversight Project of the Heritage Foundation has collected every document it could find with Biden's signature on it. And all of those documents were the signatures were exactly alike, except for the letter withdrawing from the 2024 campaign, which means that all of those other documents, pieces of legislation, executive orders, were signed with the autopen. Now, the question is, who controlled the autopen? Now, the autopen has been used for years now, for presidents to sign documents. It began actually back in the 50s, but the first time it was used to actually sign a piece of legislation was in 2013. Barack Obama used it. He was on vacation in Hawaii at the time. His office cited a 30-page legal memo from the George W. Bush administration and his legal team, asserting that the president's presence was not required to sign legislation as long as he authorized the use of the autopen in his name. What's not clear in the case of Joe Biden is who was running the autopen and whether the president knew what was being signed in his name. If that's the case, the Heritage Foundation suggests all of Biden's executive orders, pardons, and other actions may be unconstitutional and thus void. I mean, that's earth-shaking, and therefore I would be shocked if all of those documents he signed were suddenly ruled unconstitutional and invalid. I don't think anyone in the judiciary, including the Supreme Court justices, would have the courage to just say, okay, we're just going to throw this all out. But it does raise questions about the use of the autopen and whether it should be allowed in the future. Topic number 2, big food. Today, a big day for the MAHA movement, that's Make America Healthy Again, as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is meeting with senior leaders of the processed foods industrial complex, or big food, if you will, to discuss topics from banning seed oils to certain food additives, dyes, and so forth, to nutrition labels. RFK Jr. meeting with the leaders, senior leadership of General Mills, PepsiCo, others in the industry. The report cites that 4 people familiar with the meeting stress that the attendee list could still change by the time the meeting takes place. To put it bluntly, because this is a national security issue, quite frankly. RFK Jr. said that when his uncle was president, about 2% of America was obese. And today, 60 years later, 70% of Americans are obese. This is a national security issue, quite frankly, because if you can't find enough young men and women who are physically capable of the requirements of serving in the military, we cannot defend the country. It's that simple. Something is poisoning the American people. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. trying to get the bottom of it, and we pray that he does what he says he's going to do. Coming up, a trans activist scores an own goal. I will explain what I mean next on 5 and 10.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can support the ministry of Skywatch TV and our continued efforts to share the gospel of Jesus Christ throughout the 4 corners of the world and receive your very own copy of this urgent new work when you order the Tracking Toward Tribulation special offer. Not only does this incredible opportunity include Terry James' new book, Tracking Toward Tribulation and the Any Moment Intervention by Jesus Christ, but it also includes Terry's best-selling book, Lawless, End Times War Against the Spirit of Antichrist. This book reveals how the spiritual forces behind global chaos and demonic rage are signs of Christ's imminent return. But that's not all. Right now, this special offer also includes Unraveling Revelation, The 4 Horsemen on DVD featuring Derek and Sharon Gilbert. This incredible DVD uncovers the biblical truth behind the riders of the apocalypse, the chariots of Zechariah, the Watchers, Babylon, Hermes, Hades, and even death itself. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of over $80. Yours now for your donation of only $45, which includes free shipping to all U.S. orders. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity. You can also visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the Tracking Toward Tribulation special offer right now.
Item number 1 today. This wasn't the takedown this fella thought it was. A former college swimmer, Riley Gaines. You see her on the screen behind me here. She was at President Trump's address to Congress last week. She's taken up the cause of women being forced to compete against biological men, in other words, men, in athletics. Now, she was the target of an insult on social media by a trans woman on social media last week. For clarity, a trans woman is a man who thinks he's a woman and insists that the rest of us reinforce his delusion. Anyway, this guy posting a comment to X during President Trump's address when Riley Gaines was on screen, quote, "She looks more trans than any trans woman I've ever met in my entire life," end quote. Now, if you didn't catch that, I'm going to repeat this, quote, "She looks more trans than any trans woman I've ever met in my life," end quote. Now, he meant this as an insult. Dude, this is not the takedown you think it is. Think about this. Here you've got a man who thinks he's a woman, trying to look like a woman, insulting a woman by saying that she looks like a man trying to look like a woman. Again, being progressive means never having to deal with cognitive dissonance. This week on Skywatch TV, we continue our discussion with Terry James, his new book, Tracking Toward Tribulation. And we talk about how the church in the West, the church in America, North America, the United Kingdom, the Western world, how the Christian church has become more of a cult than an actual body of believers following the teachings of Jesus Christ. Bold statement, but Donna Howell explains. She wrote the chapter for the book dealing with that particular topic. It may step on some toes, but sometimes the truth is uncomfortable. Don't miss the program. Our broadcast schedule is posted at skywatchtv.com/channels. You can watch it right now on Roku, Apple TV, or Amazon Fire TV if you've got the Skywatch TV channel installed on that set-top box, or you can download that program and all of our video content right to your smartphone or tablet, whether it's iOS, Android, or Amazon Kindle Fire. We've got apps for all of those devices and links to their app stores for your convenience at skywatchtv.com/app. Follow 5 in 10 online. You'll find us at YouTube at 5 in 10. Subscribe, share, click the bell for notifications, hit that like button. And please follow us on X at 5_in_10. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.